Good afternoon. Yes, I'm Priscille Dando from Fairfax County, which is in Northern Virginia, about a few miles south of Washington, D.C. I serve 187,000 diverse students in 196 schools, and I'm very pleased to be here to share my experience with the LILEAD project. So determining the goal for our project was very simple for me because we had a new superintendent and a new strategic plan that laid out instructional priorities, which collectively is called Portrait of a Graduate. Portrait of a Graduate is intended to develop attributes for future success of students, such as being a collaborator, a communicator, critical and creative thinker, goal-oriented and resilient student, and ethic and global citizen. And in this process of learning about our strategic plan, we had already determined as a team to focus on inquiry, but we didn't really have a plan. So in came LILEAD and the opportunity to really dig deep into an outcomes-based planning method. And so in our strategic plan, there is an action item, which is on the screen. Inquiry and problem project-based learning opportunities are going to be embedded in curriculum pre-K-12. And before I go any further, I have to shout out to Ellen McNair, who is here, who is our secondary library specialist, and that this is a complete team effort. We had a key retreat, and in that retreat, we were able to look into exactly what it is that we wanted to do with inquiry, and we landed on guided inquiry design as our framework. So we had to come up with our vision as a team, and our vision was that all students would learn through an inquiry approach in order to be successful problem solvers. And our goal, which became the goal for my project in LILEAD as well, is guided inquiry design will be a learning framework used across grade levels and content areas by all librarians and classroom teachers. So how are we going to do this? In an outcomes-based plan, it's critical that you have indicators, evidence, and methods for collecting that evidence. So as a team, we determined there are 3 indicators in the first column. So the first one was that 75% of our schools would implement at least one aspect of guided inquiry design. Our second indicator was that 100% of our librarians would use guided inquiry as a way to create a new opportunity for collaboration with a teacher or a team. And the third aspect is 100% of students would be engaged in their learning. So the second column shows you a little bit about the kinds of evidence that we were collecting. The bottom block there says student reflections for their engagement. And full disclosure, our last day of school was Thursday. And our teachers are still working, so we gave them until June 30th to collect all their data. However, I do have some great news to report as of March, so I expect that our final results will be even better. So one of the challenges of our team is that we are 2 steps removed from the students, and yet our goal was really focused on librarians and students and their performance. So having the opportunity to plan very carefully how we were going to support the people doing the hardest work, the librarians in our schools, was key for our team. We have 244 librarians in an array of knowledge and experience in inquiry learning. So we had to really focus very carefully on how we were going to approach this. And one of the keys for us was, just like you do with students, getting formative feedback along the way so that we could be very responsive to their needs. So this is a general idea of the path that we took over the previous school year that we're just finishing. So we introduced guided inquiry design to our librarians by modeling sessions. And then we also took the opportunity, at the same time you have to introduce this to all your stakeholders. So we did a superintendent's leadership presentation that tapped into our administrative leaders at the school level. And we also did a lot of educating and reaching out to our colleagues in central office and instructional services, as well as our division leadership. And then through the year, the most important part was in the middle. We had some talented librarians that took the charge, and Ellen led the way for what we call our Vanguard team, for some early adopter librarians who were going to record their experiences, create videos, create materials, and share what they were doing with their peers, which I felt was the most powerful way to get librarians on board. All of us were looking for opportunities to partner with librarians and classroom teachers together, and also find ways to seize windows of opportunity with our central office work that was occurring. So one really great example that's going to start again in about a week or so is our summer learning program. So credit recovery, again, head by Ellen McNair, is our first opportunity to really have a chance for students to be immersed in a guided inquiry experience for their summer learning, and Ellen is going to be training all of the summer learning faculty in order to make that happen. And we also have an opportunity to collect more data while that's occurring. That's just one example of what we've been doing. And then all along in an outcomes-based plan, you really want to pay attention to what is your evidence that you're collecting along the way, quantitative and qualitative. So this is as of March, our results. So our goal again was that 75% would implement at least one aspect. In March 2016, we had 87% reporting that they had. 100% of librarians creating a new opportunity to collaborate. And in March, we had 81%. And you know, when we saw them in March, I have a feeling this is going to go up a lot higher as we were able to say, look how many, what your peers have been doing. And then, of course, the most important part is our student engagement. And so we are collecting that now, currently, but I do have a really great example to share. So Jill Woodall is the elementary librarian at Island Creek. And one of the things that we also did to support this work is create some exemplars in cooperation with teachers and librarians. And this exemplar was actually vetted by our elementary science specialist and qualified to be a substitute for a standardized test that is required at the 3rd grade level. So instead of taking the standardized test, the students were allowed to do this performance assessment. Part of the goal of this was also to gain student reflection in a blended learning environment. So I just took 3 really quick examples, and my favorite one, because we're talking about inquiry, is I love it because I have so many questions, and that's what it's all about. This really had an impact on our librarians as well. So Megan is a rock star librarian that anybody would love to have in their school, and she sent the most incredible email that I could have taken every line and highlighted as a quote here, but this one really illustrates her point of view. She tried it with an ESOL class, and the achievement and the engagement was so through the roof. The ESOL teacher brought it back to the department and said, this is the way we're going to do it from now on. And so she took the time to come and say, you know, she's always someone who's going to do a great job no matter what. So even she found an opportunity to learn and grow with guided inquiry. And then Melissa is a librarian who has a lot of experience in our district and hadn't yet taken the opportunity to really rise to a leadership position. She took a risk, and she did a very traditional 1920s project for years and years with her social studies department, and took a risk and said, we're going to do it differently this time. And with one teacher, literally, what they tell you in library school is true. You just get one follower, word spread, her entire department did it. She's in a very large school with 3 other librarians. They all have taken on the mantle and have been converting all of their departments. And not only that, they've become ambassadors for GID, presenting to our county. She invited our high school social studies specialist to observe this process, and he took the opportunity to recognize her in a division-wide recognition program in our county. And so you can see that it speaks for itself there. So what's next for us? I think we've done a really great job of introducing and getting some momentum going, but one of the real challenges for us is that we have so many librarians that are at so many different levels, and we're going to include some new librarians next year. So our biggest challenge after celebrating our successes will be to move every librarian forward through differentiated professional development. We need to communicate our successes, and we need to take advantage of the opportunities that have been open to us. One of the things I'm most excited about is that our division leadership in instructional services has recognized what we've been able to accomplish and has brought us to be embedded in our developing a new learning model for all instruction, and keeping us at the forefront, sitting at the table for best practices for teaching and learning, which is not because we're librarians, but because we know what good teaching and learning is, and we've been able to demonstrate that. And I would be remiss if I didn't put a shout out to the LILEAD factor. I think all of us were invited to be part of LILEAD because we were driven and successful professionals, but each and every one of us grew through the ideas that we need to take advantage of our own strengths, we need to be self-reflective, we need to depend on our communities, we need to reach out to mentors, and we need to do things in a very purposeful and planned way in order to have sustained success. So without having been part of the LILEAD Factor and being able to bring it back to our district, I know we would not have been as successful as we've been able to this point. So thank you very much, and I appreciate your time.